Hello and welcome back everybody here to the place. Player here once again. Another episode of our Bundle Rumble. This is already day number 8 of our trip through Modern Horizons 3. It's number 8. Let's see, we only have one more normal pack and then the collector's booster to go through. Let's see what awaits us tonight. The camera. My corner. Yeah. Thank you. So let us see what we get tonight. Yeah, this one tears again. And we got another art card. Very good. A lot of people complain that there's way less tokens now that the art cards are in the same slot as the tokens. Side. Let's see. Check out the art card first, I guess. We got Exterminator Magmark. Magmark? Magmark? I think yes, Magmark is how you pronounce it, right? Alright, what are you? Ooh. Fancy. Fancy, fancy. Yeah, looks straight out of the Silent Furnaces. Phyrexia. Neat. How much is there sale? I mean, it's already seen this, right? This giant flamethrower mech kind of deal. Some smaller goblins on the sides. Nice. Cool art card. And yeah, let's hop in the first special card. It is a repeat, but it's fine. It's the Jolted Awake. We already discussed this one. It's for 1 white sorcery. And choose up to 1 target artifact or creature card in our graveyard. You get 2 energy, and then we may pay an amount of energy equal to that card's mana value. If we do, we return from the graveyard to the battlefield. And an alternative, it also has cycling for 2. So yeah, if we can't really have, don't have any targets and don't need the energy, we can just throw it away from our hand. Get something better. So I feel this is, like, depending on how much energy your deck provides, this can be a really, really good card, because a reanimate spell, even for cheap stuff, usually costs 2 or 3 mana. So being able to reanimate them for 1 in white, at least, mind you, like I know there's reanimate literally in black. That's pretty good, and it also can get back an artifact directly to battlefield. This is pretty nice. I mean, downside being that on default it can only reanimate stuff for 0, 1, or 2 mana. So that might be, depending on the energy production, a pretty good card. Actually, why do I have the headphones still on? Hold on. Let me actually put those off. I don't need those right now. That's a bit weird. Anyway, there's wires to worry about here. I mean, overall, it's a neat little card. You need to see how he gets shocked awake or out of sleep, I guess. I mean, I don't, as I think I already said, I don't like that this looks more like he just was asleep. Well, it looks a little bit as if he would be hung up at the machine there, so maybe he actually is a corpse that gets reanimated. It's just the next in line. Actually, you know what that thing actually reminds me about? Like, you look how those hang. Do you know those weird panels? I don't remember the name for those, but you know those weird pendulums where you have yeah, those, I think it's mostly 5 spheres hung up on those wires there, and then you toss one in, and then basically it transfers the kinetic energy. So basically, that only the outer 2 seem to move, and the middle ones stay stationary. Reminds me a bit of that one, actually. Now that I look at it, I mean, I'm not sure if you guys can pick it up, but there is sort of like a hook on those, or on the backs. I would also explain like why there's 4 more of those. Like, do we just had that one smash into that stack and shock the first one? Not entirely sure if actually that's what's going on. So I always wonder what those wires in the background were, but I mean, that would make sense. Like, those are the quote unquote balls in this weird game. Anyways, I'm already seeing that I'm dawdling way too long on the cards. Let's move on a little bit more. And we got another energy card. I think those 2 were paired together last time as well. Is this Melta Charbark? 1 generic, 1 red. It's a 1/3 artifact creature insect with menace. And when this little critter enters the battlefield, we also get 2 energy. So technically, if we revive this one with this one, we end up with a net loss of 0 energy. Is that a good idea? Maybe, because I mean this thing is pretty neat. Because whenever the Smelter Charbag attacks, we may pay 1 energy, and if we do, another target attacking creature gets +1/+0 and gains menace until end of turn. So it will combat pump and make something harder to block, basically. Pretty good. I mean, I think we already said that the last 2 times already. This thing unfortunately has to go into the red and risk getting killed to provide its buff, unlike some other cards that let you just, you know, similar to Gargoyle, for example, that just lets you give lifelink to something. This one actually has to go into the red. But if the buff is pretty cheap, like it only costs 1 energy compared to other cards that cost 2 or 3 even. So yeah, I feel this is pretty alright. This looks like a very, how to say, a very energy heavy pack again. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. Let's see. We got Demon Fury. I think I already had this one as well. It's for 3 generic, 1 blue, a sorcery. And this spell costs 1 less to cast for each card you've drawn this turn. Since you already always or almost always draw a card during the draw step, this means this normally costs 2 and 1 generic. Sorry, 2 and 1. 2 generic, 1 blue. My bad. And yeah, the owner of target non-land permanent puts it on into their library, second from the top or onto the bottom. Forced to behold such a pitiful demonstration of scholarship, Archmage Javon could not hold his tongue no longer. Yeah. I mean, this card is pretty neat. I mean, it's basically... The ceiling basically is an unsummon with a huge upside. I mean, of course, if you have to target your own stuff, this might be a huge downside also. Don't get me wrong, if you just want to unsummon something. I mean, it's sorcery speed unsummon, might as well, but yeah, it gets rid of something a bit more consistently, or no, not consistently, more long term than just an unsummon. And can mess up your opponent's draws with that as well. So yeah, pretty neat. Like a pseudo, I mean, if you put it on the bottom, or they put it on the bottom, of course, and it's not like a pseudo time walk, but yeah, putting something on top of the library usually feels like a bit of a time walk. Yeah. Neat. I think we already had this one as well. Ooh. Yeah, still a little boy. Look at him. Look at him go. This is the Basking Brute Scale. 1 generic, 1 green. It's a 2/2. It has devoid. Ooh, the quality right now of the camera is really bad. I'm sorry. I definitely will try to put up the pictures as per usual down there below my face. And it has 1 generic, 1 green, adapt 1, which means as long as this has no +1/+1 counters in it, we get to put the +1/+1 counter on it. So, I mean, it has a one-time pump, which, I mean, some brawlers have. Yeah, in Magic, that's nothing too special. So what's the big deal here? Well, whenever 1 or more counters are put on this thing, we get, no, we may create, sorry, it's not even a must, interesting enough, it's a may. We may create a 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature token. Wonder why it's a may, actually. Okay. So pretty cool, permanent generate. Like if you have a way to put counters on something consistently, then like a proliferate effect or... I'm trying to think of what are other good effects that put counters on stuff. Can't think of one right now, actually. But there are several others that could put constantly counters and stuff. It could be pretty good. You could constantly... I think you made some combos with this guy where you could go infinite. So yeah, pretty neat little lizard. I must say, well, I didn't think about an Eldrazi at first when I saw this tentacle thing. It reminded me more of those creatures from Torment. You remember those still? Those all also had a weird tentacle, like the Gorger or World Gorger. Like, for example, the World Gorger Dragon and stuff like that. Or something Gorgers, I think they were called. I mean, maybe nowadays they would be classified not as horrors, but as Eldrazi, but back in the day, those were basically creatures that drained something from you and gave you something back when they died. Like, one of them, for example, stole a turn from you, but you got an extra turn when it died. Or the World Gorger Dragon, it steals all your permanents, but it returns them when it dies, and so on. It kind of reminds me of that one look-wise. Not effect-wise, but look-wise. Yeah, it's munching on a huge-ass fly. I wonder what fly that is. What's a bit weird is that you don't really see him poop out anything else there, unless you're saying that this little worm there's supposed to be the Eldrazi spawn. I mean, then... so it eats that. Yeah, okay. If that is what's going on there in the picture, then I can see it. Well, that would leave him look like a normal lizard after if he loses that tentacle again. But another repeat is the Kami of the Jealous First. 2 generic, 1 black. Creature Spirit. 1 free Death Touch. Alright, alright. And for 4 generic and 1 black, we can let each opponent lose 2 life and we gain 2 life. This ability costs 4 and 1 black less to activate if you've drawn 3 or more cards this turn. And we can only activate it once each turn though, so to prevent you going infinite after you draw 3 cards, which is obvious. If they give you such a huge discount. I guess if you just would keep the black cost on it, I guess it would be fine. Or black and 1 generic, maybe. Then you can't go infinite, but you still can trigger it multiple times. Or do it multiple times. But it's fine. I mean, you can do it on any turn. So if you have a deck that can cycle through a lot of cards, it's a neat little thing putting your enemy under pressure. Because it's basically adding a free drain to life effect on your, basically your third card draw spell or card draw effect each turn. There's actually, especially in something like Commander where you have 4 turns and it's back to you, that can be huge. Can be huge, for sure. And we have another visit to the Banned Panorama. Sorry, not the Banned Panorama, the Banned Landscape. This is again the Tranquil Landscape. It's a land, it taps for 1 colorless. We can tap it to sacrifice it and search our library for basic forest, basic plains, or basic island. And I notice I just had my fingers off the screen again, that happens so often. And yeah, put it on the battlefield, tap, and then shuffle. And we can alternatively cycle it for 1 green, 1 white, or 1 blue. And yeah, I think what we're talking about, I mean, it's a great looking landscape, don't get me wrong. I was just missing a bit more. This sounds weird because there's so much green here, but you know, greenery shrubbery to properly represent the green or the forest aspect of the card. So we see a lot of water there. We see some brushland. I mean, okay, maybe you can say this is like a savanna land. Savanna is green-white, so maybe. I feel like you see more white and blue in this card's artwork than you see green, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Neat. And yeah, I'm going over those a bit fast because we already have seen those. And I don't really expect people to just randomly jump into one of the later videos of the bundle rumble. If yes, then welcome. If not, yeah, I mean, you know the drill. We want to go over this. We also had this girl already, the Sneaky Snacker. 1 blue, 1 black. Creature Fairy Rogue, 2/1, flying. Having the crazy so far. And the interesting part is, once again, with the card drawing theme here in black-blue. When you draw your 3rd card in a turn, we return the Sneaky Snacker from our graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Yeah. Draw the 3rd, we can get this thing back. Nice. I mean, of course, tapped, so it cannot jump block, it cannot attack. Okay. Yeah, even if it would get a haste, it cannot attack because it's tapped. But hey, get it back and, for example, can sacrifice it again or do other stuff with it. And of course trigger ATB effects from other cards. So yeah. For the High Fae gave explicit instructions not to tarry. She stayed in Sweet to Village for seconds, thirds, and then desserts. Gotcha. I think we were talking about this as well, that it doesn't really look like the card's artwork has a lot to do with card draw. It feels more like it has something to do with life gain. Because of the foods, the theme. But hey, it is how it is. We also had this one already, the Mindless Conscription. That's actually a pretty cool card. For 2 generic, 1 black. It's an enchantment. And when the Mindless Conscription enters the battlefield, and whenever we draw our 3rd card each turn, guess where we have heard that before. So apparently I was wrong. This is a draw cards booster, not the energy booster. We were misguided there. We amass zombies free, which means we put 3+1/+1 counters on an army we control, and that army is also a zombie. And if we don't control an army right now, we instead create a 0/0 zombie army, black zombie army creature token, and then put the counters on it instead. So I mean, this is basically for 3 mana, a 3/3 with the potential to grow or replace itself later. It's technically 2 permanents entering the battlefield. For stuff like prowess, it's non-creature permanent and a creature entering. This could be pretty cool. I feel this card has potential. I want to build something, especially now I think 3 copies of it. I mean, 2 from this bundle and some from my other boosters. I would need a 4th, but this feels like you can do something with it. And yeah, artwork is kind of great. Like you have all the carrion birds. I mean, you can't hardly make them out right now on the camera. I think there's a swarm. Those are not gnats. Those are actually carrion birds up there in the sky. And yeah, the zombies are piling high. I wonder if those black vapors that are snagging and shackling them are supposed to be from something like Liliana's spells. I think she has a lot of purplish vapor stuff attached to some of her spells. Interesting, interesting. And we also had this one before. Interesting. We only had one of those so far. This is Roll and Implicit Maze. Once again, this is one of the enchantment sagas that are in the set. Each of them basically showcases the rise or the awakening of planeswalkers. This one's for Ral. For free generic, double red. This is, as we said, a saga already. As this saga enters, and after your draw step, add a lore counter. Sacrifice after 3. Basically, when it enters, it does straight away. Roll and Implicit Maze deals 2 damage to each creature and planeswalker you control. Your opponent's control. You control would be kind of bad, right? But no, your opponent's control. So it's basically a very overpriced Pyroclasm. However, with the upside of providing further benefits. And then on the next counter, you may discard a card, and if we do, we exile the top 2 cards for our library. We may play them until the end of our next turn, so we have 2 turns for that. That's pretty sweet. So basically, also attaching that, what's the name of that looting spell where you, it's not Faithless Looting, but one of those looting spells where you discard a card and get 2 back. Similar to that. And then we have create a Spellgorger Weird token, which is for 2 generic 1 red, a 2/2 weird creature with, whenever we cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Spellgorger Weird. This is basically a name token that's actually a 1-to-1 copy of an actual creature card that exists. It's kind of interesting. So overall, adding up all the costs, I guess this is well priced, because I mean that burn effect usually costs 2 mana, this one usually costs 1 or 2 mana, I think more 2 nowadays still. And then 3 mana for the token, which normally the card itself would cost you 3 mana. So yes, it is well priced. However, you basically have to cough up all that front end. And if you only get the 2 damage out of it, I'm not sure if it's really a good investment. I feel some of the other ones are better. I don't know, sagas are something. There are some that are really, really great, don't get me wrong. And there are others where I'm like, yeah, unless you really get to the ultimate, then it wasn't worth investing in it, so to say. Whereas there are others where like, yeah, this is a fine effect front end, and if I get to the end, it's even sweeter for the deal, you know? I mean, this is very good and limited, but constructed, I'm not so sure, honestly. And yet another repeat. I think we only had 1 new card this time. It was the Basking Brute Valor. This is the Envoy of the Ancestors showing its face again. This is for 2 generic, 1 white. Come on with focus, thank you. A creature human cleric, 2 free. It has Outlast for a white, so we have to pay a white mana and tap it to put a +1/+1 counter on this creature, and we can only outlast a sorcery. But I think I forgot to say that last time. Unlike Adapt, we can do that over and over and over again. So yeah, we can add multiple counters with this. And all modified creatures we control have lifelink. So first, of course, only other stuff, but when we outlasted him or attach an aura to him or something like that, then he himself gets it as well, which is pretty neat. No Absan has ever stood alone is the flavor text here. Sweet. And we got another Waterlogged Teaching. This is also a repeat of the FC cards. Still like it. Not sure what deck I want to put you right now. I mean, I already put the other one in my main deck, but in the deck it was meant for. But hey, Waterlogged Teachings, free generic, and then a hybrid Dimir mana, or blue or black basically. It's an instant. We search our library for an instant card or a card with flash, reveal it, put it into our hand, and then shuffle. And the alternative is we can play it instead as the New Date Archive, which enters battlefield tapped and can be tapped for blue or black. So if you're in a pinch, you can get this as a tapped land. And the upside, of course, being that's a spell, which can tutor for some. So if you have a very instant heavy, or if you play several creatures with flash that are neat for your deck, then I mean, it's hard. Let's go to flavor text real quick. The Long Dead Librarians are still on hand to recommend selected titles. Sure. And Moldering Tomes line rotting shelves. Generations of priceless knowledge fade from memory beneath the waves. Alright, alright. Sweet. And we got one of the medallions. This is the white one, the Pearl Medallion. So those are actually an old reprint from Tempest, as you can see here. If the camera would ever focus, thank you. White spells we cast cost 1 less to cast. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You can basically say those are like slightly weird mana rocks. With the upside for the more spells you sling in a turn, the better they get. Because, I mean, a normal mana rock usually gives you for 2 mana, basically 1 mana. Like 2 mana investment, you get 1 mana. Grind is only reduce the colorless cost, but hey, this is pretty neat if you sling like 2 or 3 spells per turn. For example, have a decent draw engine. Like, for example, those stuff where whenever a small creature has a spell field, you get to draw a card, and then you draw another small creature, and you can play it cheap again and again. You know, it's pretty neat. It is a helping hand reaching out to the trotted. The accurate sweet tang of burnt incense during prayer, and the harmony of voices uplifted in unison. It is faith. Can we appreciate how gorgeous this landscape there is? I mean, the medallion, honestly, the way it displays it almost looks like a giant-ass tombstone, a giant pearl in it. But yeah, you basically just see it hanging over the landscape of looking into the distance. This is pretty landscape. Nice. I like it. And, oh, got Roshin. We talked. Oh, right, we talked about her on the preview sheet for the legendary creatures that we had there. This is Roshin, Roaring Prophet. Second rare of the pack. 2 generic, 1 red, 1 white. White, I know I wish. 2 generic, 1 red, 1 green, sorry. For a legendary creature, a giant shaman, it's a 4/4. And Roshin, Roaring Prophet enters the battlefield, mill 6 cards. And we may put a card with X in its mana cost from among them into our hand. And else it has tap, reveal any number of cards with X in their mana cost in your hand, and we get to add double colorless for each card revealed this way. And we may only spend this mana on costs that contain X, which might be spells, but might also be abilities. So this is basically like your, this is pretty much a commander card. I mean, 4 mana for 4 and limited is still fine. In constructed, I don't really see a reason to play her necessarily. I mean, she loots for an X spell, so if there's a huge or very beneficial X spell in your deck, I mean, she has a higher chance in a 60 card deck to find it. And she can make you lots of mana. Potentially, I guess it's good for as a commander for like a Hydra deck. Or sort of like a deck with lots of Fireball-esque effects. I don't know. I mean, she seems fair price for what she's doing, but I can't see her being too crazy in most things, honestly. And interesting artwork. Roshin was, I think it's interesting that we see her actually in her raging form, because I think when we visited Lorwyn, she was actually just sitting there chilling and doing her thing. But I mean, that is the thing with the Lorwyn giants, like whenever they go to sleep and awaken, they awaken as a new, with a new destiny, so to say. I think was written on one of the cards. I think it was actually on a Treefolk card where it was like, yeah, 2 Treefolks fought that giant until he dropped sleep from exhaustion. And then instead of being the brutal berserker, he awoke as the gardener. Oh! And we got a pretty cool card in foil. This actually is a little bit of a limited bump here. This is for 2 generic, a red and a green. The Riddlins. Sorry. I will mispronounce this most likely. The Writhing Chrysalith. It's a creature Eldrazi drone. It's a 2/3. It has Devoid, so it has no color, despite having 2 colored pips up there. And when you cast a spell, create 2 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature tokens with sacrifice creature, yada yada, you know the drill. So effectively, this costs basically a green and a red to cast. A green and red for 2/3 is already pretty good. It has reach. Neat. And whenever we sacrifice another Eldrazi, doesn't have to be a spawn, mind you, it has to be any Eldrazi, we get to put a +1/+1 counter on the Writhing Chrysalis. That's what makes it pretty good. Look, like you can technically play this for 4 mana as a 4/5 and then sling something small after it. Like for example, the Lord we pulled yesterday, I believe, the 2 mana guy that gives all colorless creatures +1/+1. Or the one whenever something dies, you can ping something. Or enters, spawn basically enters and ping something. That's pretty neat. So overall, this was a neat little pack. I mean, too crazy, a lot of repeats, but still nothing too bad, I would argue. I mean, to be fair, they said it has a lot of great cards in it. I mean, it could be nice to have seen another MDFC. So we haven't seen that many yet. I mean, we have seen this one, we have seen the blue one, I believe. This one, the blue one, or the mono blue one, I should say. The red-white one I know we have seen. I believe the red-green one. Anyways, enough rambling. We had some fun with me cracking the pack. We were almost through our journey, so yeah. Hope to see you all again for the next pack. Stay safe, stay awesome, everybody. Player Free Play, signing out of here. Bye.